Hello and welcome back to my channel, Craft Time by Casey. I'm Casey, and today this is the first necklace that I have designed using the February bargain bead box. And I really love the way that it turned out. I love the little designs in that focal bead. Kind of ties it in with the embellishments in the chain. I love the way that it turned out. If you would like to see how this design came about, then stay tuned. Okay, so you are coming from the finished piece, and I will say I do tend to design on the fly. So if anything changes as I'm going along, I will try to let you know. But I'm going to try to tell you all the pieces that I'm using. Just about everything I'm using came from the 2022 bargain bead box. And the only pieces out of my own stash, I do have a couple of my own bead caps that I'm using. It's kind of a leaf or flower design. But I am using also some of the bead caps that came in the design, or that came in the bead box. And I'm also using these charms that came in it, and the big focal charm is going to be one of the main pendants for my necklace that I am making today. And I have several of the different beads that came in the bead box. I also have two different lengths of the chain that came in there. So the longer length has 43 links of chain, and the shorter length has 19 links of chain. I'm using both the head pin and the eye pin, and I am just gonna get started. The tools that I'm going to be using today, I have two sets of chain nose pliers, and you will see these a lot because that is how I manipulate all the pieces. I'm also going to be using my round nose pliers, and mostly going to be making loops with these, and I've had several comments on how I make loops, and yes, I know I do it quite a bit uniquely, but it works for me. And I'm also going to be using my cutters. Okay, so I'm going to start with the chain pieces and then go to the focal pieces. In my head, I actually have this separated into what is going where. So first things first. Now, to make all the embellishments that are going in the chain, I'm going to be using these eye pins because they're all going to be connected together. So first thing, I'm going to be using a bicone, stack with this one just like this, and one of the little beads going in the middle. All right. So here is the very first design that I am making of a bicone on either side, then the round beads with the little rondelle in the middle. Now, when I make a loop, I am going to be making sure that the open end on the bottom is facing up and down. That way, the loops will be facing the same way. So I put my round nose pliers at the top, make sure it's facing the same direction as the loop at the bottom, and I bend it just like that, and then I bend it back with my fingers. And then when you look at it, it's got the beginning of a really nice loop. So I take my cutters and I go a little bit up into the loop and I hang on to the end of it and I snip that off. If you don't hang on to that end, it will go flying. So then I take my round nose pliers and I get right back in there and I just close the loop. And there you go. So simplest way for me, there's my very first component. So I'm going to set it down here to the side. Actually, I'll set it down here, and that way I can just line them all up across the bottom. So I need to make the next piece that's going to be connecting to this in the chain. So for this one, I'm going to have another one of the little beads, the little rondelles. All right, so we've got the small rondelle on there. Then we're going to use one of the bead caps that came in the box, then the big rondelle, and then another bead cap that came in the box, but it's gonna go the opposite direction. And then once you get to that point, you're gonna get another of the small rondelles. So that is the order of the second component. And we're going to do the same thing. You will see me make a whole lot of loops with this. So I go just before the bead, just above it, and then bend it, just like this. Bend it back with my fingers. And then with that loop that is started, go up in there a little bit. And then I go in there and close the loop with my round nose pliers. And there's the second component. Now we're going to make our third component. And our third component is going to be this bead that has the swirly designs on it. I really like the design in this bead. So these are the ones that I'm going to be using my own bead caps with. So on the open eye pin, you're going to have a bead cap going this way where it's open up. Then the bead cap open down. There you go. And then same loop. Bend it just like this. And then I'm going to bend it back with my fingers. Cut it. And then get in there with my round nose pliers and close that up. All right, so here is my third component. Now we're going to use the embellishment of this piece, and because the space in this hole is so small, we're going to use a flathead pin, and we're going to have one of the bicones dangling in that space. So you take the flathead pin and you put the bicone on it. I'm going to use one of the shortest ones we have. Just like that. All right, so we get up there and we're going to use a bigger loop. All right, then we bend it just like that, and then we go back around with our fingers. And then when we open it, we have a pretty big loop started. We're gonna hang on to that. Hang on to the extra piece. And then you wanna make sure you don't tighten it around this end piece because for this, I want it dangling in the middle, just like that. All right, so now we're going to take our round nose pliers, and this is an odd angle, but we're going to close that loop, just like that. All right. I think we can get that just a little bit more closed. All right, and there we go. There you have it. You have the little dangle on the inside there. So now we have our 4 components, and we're going to put them together with jump rings, okay? So here we go. We're gonna hold this with one hand, connect the first piece and the second piece, just like that. And we're gonna close that jump ring. All right, so now we're gonna connect the next 2. We're going to connect this end of this one, and then we're going to connect it to this. And this time we are connecting it to that end piece. And we're going to close that jump ring. And now we're going to connect that last piece. And this time we're going to need a little bit bigger jump ring because we're connecting it to this middle hole of this metal piece, just like that. And connect it. And close that jump ring, just like that. All right. So here is the embellishment for one side of the chain. So now you can go back in the video and we need to duplicate this because we're gonna have this going one way on the chain and then we're gonna have it going the opposite way as well. So I will pick back up with you when I have made a second one just like this. Okay, so I have now made both of these components for the chain. So I'm going to connect the rest of the chain together, and then the last thing that I'm going to do is make the piece of the pendant. So I'm going to take one of my jump rings, open it, and I'm going to connect the end of this, of our embellishment. So I have one of our jump rings. I'm going to take the ends of one of our embellishments and I'm going to connect it to the smaller piece of chain, to the last link in that smaller piece of chain. And then I'm going to close that jump ring. All right. So now we're going to take another jump ring and we're going to connect the other end of that piece to the longer piece of chain. Put in that last link there. All right. All right, now we're going to take one of our bigger jump rings, and this is going to be the one on the end that the lobster clasp connects to. So here we go. And this side of our chain, of our necklace, is complete. Okay, so now we're going to do the other side. And then for this end, we are going to connect our lobster clasp. So we're going to grab a jump ring, and we're going to go to the last link in the chain. There we go. And then we're going to connect it to our lobster clasp. Just like that. And then close the jump ring. So we are now going to complete the pendant, the kind of focal piece to it. So similar to the smaller rounds, we are going to have something hanging from this middle piece. So here we go. We are going to be creating this centerpiece here, and you're going to use a head pin, and sometimes of course they come wonky, so you just have to kind of straighten it to the best of your ability. All right, we're going to put that on the pin, put on the bead cap that came in the box. Now we're going to be making the loop that it is going to be hanging on in here. So the loop is going to be bigger. So now, going to go down like this, back around. When you open it up, it does look quite a bit bigger. So I'm gonna cut it. And now I'm going to be putting this loop. Make sure you don't, once again, tighten it on this loop. You want it to be on the inner circle. So I will be holding this with my pliers once I get a hold of it, and then I will be putting it through just like that. And then on the outside, I'm going to be taking my round nose pliers and tightening that up. And once again, I don't like bead caps to be hanging loose. I feel like bead caps should be snug on top of beads. So I'm gonna tighten it pretty good in there. All right, and there you have it. We have our focal dangle. All right, so now we're going to make the embellishments that hang off the end. So the middle one is going to be just about the same setup, but we're going to add a few pieces. So we're going to add a bicone, and then we're going to have the bigger bead cap, and the smaller rondelle. So that is going to be the design for the one hanging at the bottom. So this is just going to be your basic loop, because all of these will be connected with jump rings. Bend it, bend it back around. Cut it. And then we're going to close the loop. So before I connect this piece, I'm going to make all of the components that are going to be hanging. Now we're going to make the side pieces. So each one of these is going to have a bicone, round, smaller bead, bicone, just like that. All right, so here we go. Basic loop, bend it back around, cut, and close the loop. There we go. Close that a little bit more. There we go. All right, and we're gonna make another one just like that. So we're gonna have a bicone, the smaller round bead, and a bicone, just like that. So now we're gonna do our last loop. Go in there and cut. Then close the loop. All right, so there's all of our pieces that we're going to hang on this center one. So we're gonna grab our first jump ring for the pendant, and we're going to go into this center part at the bottom. And I don't have it opened quite far enough. So open it. Then we're going to be going through this center piece at the bottom. And since this is the middle one, we're going to be hanging this one. And then close the jump ring. So they hang like that. And then we want to hang the side ones. So we're going to make sure that our jump rings are open wide enough. So we're going to skip one and go to this one to the side. And I'm going to hang that right on there. There we go. And then the last one, make sure it's open pretty good. And then we're going to skip one going the other way from the center. And we have it right in there. Just like that. And then we're going to hang our last one on there and then close the jump ring, just like that. So there is our focal pendant. And we are going to now connect it. Of course, I had a couple extra beads there. I tried to count it exact. It's pretty close considering this is all I have left over. We're going to connect the pendant to the two end pieces of chain with our last two jump rings. So here we go. We're going to take a jump ring and we're going to open it and put right on the center, and we're going to take one end of our chain and go ahead and close that. So we're going to connect each side to its own jump ring. I'm going to take the other jump ring and open it. We're also going to connect this one to the center, and we're going to connect our other short piece of chain to the last link. Just like that. So now we're going to take our two end pieces of chain and connect them with a lobster clasp. And there is our finished product. So I am going to go set this up on my display so that it is a lot more visible. But I can already tell I really love how this came out. So give me just a second. So here is the finished piece, and I am incredibly happy with how it came out. I can get in there kind of close. I love the design on those beads. I just think it really adds a nice touch, ties it into the chain. I'm kind of a fan of adding embellishments to chains. I'll have that specific kind of design in several of my, necklaces. Just having a little extra, it just adds to it, I think. So if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. If you want to see other tutorials like this, other videos like this, or unboxings with the different bead boxes that I receive, and leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought. Let me know how you think this turned out and any other ideas that you may have. I love reading the comments that come in. You guys are so kind. I cannot say that enough. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I definitely look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.